On the night of April 23, 2010, the Fashion House pub in Cabra, Dublin, is packed with people. Laughter mingles with the clinking of glasses as a birthday celebration fills the air. But amidst the jovial atmosphere, darkness lurks outside. Around 10 p.m, a red VW Passat pulls up, from which several armed men with their faces and heads concealed emerge. One of them remains outside the door, while another gunman ventures into the pub to locate his target. Guided by a spotter inside, he approaches with chilling precision. Without hesitation, he shouts commands for everyone to take cover as he closes in on his mark. Moments later, gunfire erupts, shattering the once lively atmosphere of the pub. One of the people attending the birthday party was Eamon Dunne, a notorious criminal from Finglas. Dunne had emerged seemingly from nowhere to become one of the godfathers of Irish crime. How did the man who had no criminal record become Ireland's public enemy number one? Born in 1974, he hailed from the working-class area of Cabra on Dublin's north side. He came from a respectable family, was smart, and worked hard, but instead of choosing a conventional path after leaving school in 1993, he turned to crime. In the 1990s, as the clubbing scene flourished, a wave of recreational drug use swept the country. Dunne seized the opportunity presented by this growing demand for substances like ecstasy, speed, and cocaine. As his business expanded, he formed a partnership with a notorious figure in Dublin's underworld, Martin Marlowe Hyland, who had been his friend for years. Their alliance was a blend of brains and brawn, Hyland providing strategic insight, while Dunne executed with unwavering determination. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with, never shying away from any task, no matter how daunting, that came their way. Dunne first came to the attention of Gardaí in the late 90s, following a chilling discovery during a routine car stop, a man bound in the trunk of his car. Despite his arrest at the scene, Dunne managed to evade conviction due to the lack of evidence. However, Dunne was now firmly on the radar of the Garda, and from that point on, his trajectory skyrocketed, marked by a sharp escalation in violence. Dunne's connections extended beyond Marlowe Hyland to include another notorious figure, Eamon Kelly. Kelly, whose criminal career began in his teens, had ties to the IRA and mingled with Ireland's most infamous underworld figures. He served as a mentor not only to Dunne and Hyland, but also to Jerry the Monk Hutch. In a landmark case in 1993, Kelly received the longest sentence yet for cocaine smuggling in Ireland, 14 years for trafficking a kilogram valued at €50,000, an unprecedented and horrendous sentence. By 2005, Dunne had risen to prominence as a senior figure in Dublin's criminal underworld. Prior to this, he had operated largely under the radar, unnoticed by the city's gangland circles. But within 2 years, he was standing shoulder to shoulder with the giants of the Irish underworld. Remarkably, he had managed to avoid implication in any gangland murders, yet this changed dramatically in August 2005 with the mysterious disappearance of convicted drug dealer Andrew Dunne in North County Dublin. His lifeless body was found dumped on farmland, and his last known contact was with Dunne. With all signs pointed towards Dunne as the shooter, the lack of forensic evidence made it difficult to establish concrete proof. So far, Hyland and Dunne's crimes had stayed within the confines of Dublin's gangland, but that changed with the murder of the Latvian mother of two, Baiba Solite, at her home in Swords in November 2006. She was married to a Lebanese man who was in prison at the time for trying to kidnap their children. According to the police, Solite, who had nothing to do with organized crime, became a target of a group of imprisoned gangsters. It is believed Dunne employed the services of an assassin belonging to a notorious criminal family in Limerick, after his boss Hyland was asked to help organize the hit. However, again in this case, Dunne escaped the arms of law enforcement. By then, the dynamic started to shift within Hyland's organization. The murder of Solite had intensified the pressure on Hyland, leading the cocaine-sniffing crime boss to become increasingly paranoid. His behavior left fellow criminals questioning whether he might be cooperating with authorities. Dunne, and others working for Hyland, became concerned that Hyland intended to kill them as his behavior became increasingly erratic. Subsequently, in 2006, Hyland was murdered in his sleep. Tragically, an innocent plumber who happened to be present in the same house also fell victim to the violence. It is believed that Dunne, who was one of Hyland's closest associates, drove the getaway car for the killers. Dunne was always the apprentice godfather, and it was only a matter of time before he'd take his opportunity to bring down Hyland and finally take control of the Dublin drug scene. What followed was a consolidation of Dunne's power, and that meant an awful lot of youngsters who had done no more than owe a few euro for drugs fell victim to Dunne's gang. Dunne was linked to 17 gangland murders over the next 3 years. The killing spree continued in 2007 with the fatal shooting of 27-year-old John Daly, the Finglas criminal who had achieved national notoriety when he telephoned into RTE's live line on a mobile phone from his cell in Portlaoise prison. As a result of that call, a nationwide search of prisons uncovered more than 2,000 phones and led to a big interruption in communications between leading criminals and their associates on the outside. Daly was shot dead the day after he was released from jail as a result of anger over this consequence. It is believed that Dunne teamed up with gangland killer Fat Freddie Thompson, who is now jailed for life, and Paddy Doyle to take out the infamous Lifeline caller. Dunne, who was the single biggest driving force responsible for making those years the bloodiest years for gangland crime in Ireland. His reputation struck fear into the hearts of fellow gangsters, not only due to the uncertainty of who his next target might be, but also because of the intense scrutiny he attracted from law enforcement. The escalating nature of his crime seemed to spiral out of control, drawing massive attention from the Gardaí. He appeared to have an insatiable appetite for both violence and sexual encounters. His penchant for becoming entangled with the women of notorious criminals only added to the perilous risks he faced. Aware of the constant threats looming over him, Dunne adopted extreme precautions. He wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone he perceived as a threat to his life. Always on guard, he made a habit of wearing a bulletproof vest and rotated between various residences every night to evade potential attackers. By 2010, Dunne's killing spree had brought too much attention on Ireland's crime bosses. Profits were down, and Dunne's behaviour was seen as both reckless and a threat to Dublin's drug trade. Dunne had become a liability, and it was inevitable that a contract would be taken out on his life. Like his mentor, Marlowe Hyland, Dunne was expendable. On that fateful evening in April 2010, Dunne sat at the back of the pub and had just ordered a round of drinks. Typically vigilant, he usually positioned himself to face the door, but this time he faced the wall, a move that would prove to be the biggest mistake of his life. Just as Chinese national Zheng Xian, who worked part-time in the pub, came over to Dunne's table to deliver the drinks, a gunman entered the pub. While Xian stood waiting for the payment for the 7-Up Dunne ordered, the killer fired 2 bullets which hit Dunne. Dunne then struggled to his feet and grabbed hold of the bar boy, using him as a human shield. However, the boy got pushed to the side, and the gunman fired 10 more shots. Dunne was hit with 8 of them, before the eyes of his 16-year-old daughter. Dunne's life ended abruptly at the scene, the entire ordeal unfolding in a mere 30 seconds. Although it is widely believed that Dunne's murder was ordered by Eamon Kelly, no one was ever convicted. That was it for today's video. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see our next videos.